Welcome to part 3. So far in this Recommission and Ride project, we've mainly focused on taking this bike apart, then assessing for wear and damage. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, we suggest you go back and start from the beginning to get the full story. Today we're going to begin cleaning the engine and removing the dirt and grime that's accumulated over the years. We'll also be cleaning and tidying up a lot of the parts that we've taken off so far. Thanks for joining us. Let's get started.
We're going to start by cleaning these cases up and show you that this is quite superficial. It looks worse than it really is. So just remove the gear lever and we start on this case, then we go over top of the crankcase where the starter motor was and we'll work around it. And we'll make a big impact, but we're not going to get it completely finished today, but just show you how from this at the moment to how it will look. A lot of the fasteners I will take out probably and buff those up, like the earth bolt here, which is one of the engine mounts. We'll take that out, clean that all up obviously and put that back through again afterwards. What I'm going to do, you could use anything, you could use paraffin really, but I've got some WD-40. I was going to spray this and I got like a sort of thing you would buy from, you know, when you go to the supermarket. It's what you use when you're doing washing up. It's not a really abrasive. It's not cotton wool, and that's just a slightly hard finish on there. Now it won't scratch it, so I'm going to spray all this area up here and also spray the pad at the same time because you don't want to work with it dry. Wear a pair of gloves when you're doing this really. I try to. Right, this does lightly put a little bit of a surface mark on it, but it's going to get all those blemishes out. So we're not worried about that. You've got to be able to cut into the aluminium, so really this is a good start. I did mention about using wet and dry, but thinking about it, this works really well. Swirls are quite a good way to do it really, round and round, but any way really that you feel comfortable doing it. So this is the very first clean. This is really just to get the surface off and really just get it back to what really looks reasonably okay before you really start working on it. You see, I'm not really scoring this deep. There, like I say, you can see where it's actually working into the aluminium, but it's not gouging into it. And if you use wire wool, that breaks up, and when we're working around the push rods, the tappet followers from the camshaft, you don't want to get any little bits of wire wool all around there. So this is better. This product stays together. What we're doing in a moment, just wipe this away and just see what the difference looks like already. But this is a very quick pre-clean really. And so you just need to get into these little nooks and crannies. Okay, we're going to give it a wipe over now. Just see where we've got to with the first clean. So it won't be shiny. If you're using these pads, the nice thing about these pads, you can squeeze it and you can get into those awkward places. We don't want to go on the logo, we don't want to scratch the black surface and the 5-speed. So we just go around the outsides of this. So this will be done later on with the metal polish to get the nice shine. But this is getting out a lot of the surface corrosion. Yeah, do your fins, but obviously don't want to work too much towards the engine internals. Be careful when you come around the front of it because you're working where the camshaft followers are. Doing your inside your fins, obviously when you've got a new sponge it's quite stiff. So if you get an older one that you've been using, you can just come in there a little bit with that. It is difficult though. Okay, we're just using a brush just to make sure there's nothing loose behind. We're going to use an airline in a moment and blow it all out. Just clean it all out. The brush won't get it right out properly. Get it bright out as well, so you can really see the difference. Yeah, we've just done the first clean, just to really get the corrosion off. So all this light scoring will come out. It's only done with that sort of Brillo pad. It's very, very, only just touch the surface, but we've had to use this to cut that corrosion out. This will polish up nicely. Right, just going to show you now with a bit of polish now how this is going to come up. We're just going to do a small surface area here and you'll see the difference. Don't forget to turn your cloth when it gets like this impregnated, just turn it, as you end up pushing that back into the surface that you're cleaning. So as I said before, just do a smaller area. Don't do too big an area in one go. Work on maybe just half this case. Apply your polish, work it in, then buff it off before you do the rest of the case. Because once it dries out, it doesn't work so well. Just be careful of your logos, because that is slightly abrasive as we know, and it might rub that out. You don't want to do that. You can take your badge off because it's screwed on. But if you're careful, you won't get onto it. We've only done this quickly so you can see how it's going to come up when we spend a bit more time on it. Okay, so you can see where we were before. You might think it's slightly scored, but that's very much just on the surface where we've been working with that pad. And this is the difference. See, it'll cut it straight out, won't leave any of that scoring behind. It's literally just remove all that oxidisation. And we need to do that to get it back. So it will all polish out. So that is quite a good finish. And that's a very quick polish over. We haven't spent very much time on that. So those cases are not bad. Now today we need to take the oil tank off. I'm going to get that off and gives us access to the rest of the parts behind here, the coil bank, some of the electrics. Give that a wash out. Then we're going to clean the frame down and just tidy up the electrics. So we get the shrouds and the headlamp cleaned up. So we really want to try and get as much as this part of the bike really done today as possible. I haven't put a list in for parts yet, so I need to itemise exactly what I need here. There's a lot of hoses and rubbers and mounts and things that to be replaced. On the other bench, you'll see in a moment, we've got mudguards to do. We've got starter motor clean up. That probably could go back in today. Hopefully next week we'll have the forks back, the parts that we need, and we can put new tyres on the rims and get it as a rolling chassis. Then I can actually drain the oil out the engine, because it's on this scissor jack at the moment. I don't want to disturb it anymore. But yeah, we're going to crack on today with it, so make some progress. Oil feed pipe, always check your pipes, because this one here, you can see it's gone it's collapsed here, and so lost its structure, so that you can lose a lot of your supply of oil. So always be very wary. It's got it's gone quite flat, so it's got to have to be replaced anyway. But that really could be a big issue. It pays really to, I use, like we have done here, something like duck oil, WD-40, and spray it over it, wipe it all down, and use your metal polish, clean bit of rag. And if you can see I'm working here with it, it doesn't take long to get that back. The thing about when you're working with chrome is when you're working aluminium, you get all the aluminium, it clogs up your cloth really quickly. Working with chrome, it doesn't. You know, it will keep clean with the cloth, and you can really work it in. I mean, like here, we've removed a lot of that now. The shell is quite pitted, we can't do anything with that because the chrome is lifted. But where these shrouds were just surface rust, that's really come off quite well. Well, we're just going to clean all the pod up, all the rubber. So again, WD-40 or duck oil. And we just give this a good clean, then we can use some detail spray. A few bits in we've got to go back to later on anyway. We've got to put headlight, pilot bulb in, headlight, replace these indicators, but we're just trying to just clean it up today a little bit. Okay, this is really like detail spray. And you can spray it all over here, but it goes everywhere. Just put it onto your rag. This is good for your metal work, your paint work, your plastic. It will give it a bit of a shine. You can use it on the glass. It will just improve this a little bit on the front here. Okay, with any restoration, if you're doing more than one bike or you're sitting on something for a few weeks or months, you need to move that project on. You get bogged down if you're not careful. So today, we're trying to really sort of show you where you've got to get into it. A lot of cleaning, but that's all it needs. And if you get it cleaned back, you're more motivated again. You've got to pick up the pace again. So like cleaning all this up, we're checking at the same time, seeing what is worn, because not until you come to clean something, you find what's really going on, really. But it's not bad. I mean, we're just going for that patina look anyway. But if we can clean a lot of this back, it will look quite nice when it's finished. Yeah, you got these, they're like big grommets really. They go in the bottom of the speedo and the tacho. If they keep dropping out, a little bit of silicone helps. That's all you want to use, something that's flexible. Don't use any other glue. And a lot of people get bored. You've got to have patience, and you've got to want to do it. And really, you know, it's the result you get at the end of it is worth the effort. Yeah, what's really important with anything is detail. It's the finish. You know, if you're doing a job on something, you know, it's nice to see that bike thoroughly cleaned up for the time it takes, you know, and like I say, when you're cleaning, you're checking things at the same time. But it's surprising how like this kickstart, it looks not bad, but a bit pitted. Well, just literally 2 minutes and it looked totally different. Okay, so we've got the starter motor outside because we haven't got a battery in the workshop, 12 volt. We're just going to spin it up, make sure it works, because there's no point putting this back in if it's not working. We've removed the Bendix assembly. The spiral gear, once a really good clean, this is all debris around here, you need to wash all that out, and we use a very like a lithium grease, not too much, on the spiral gear, and we clean up the Bendix and we put that back together. We know it rotates okay, we weren't worried a bit just now about the solenoid tripping in, we know it turns over, that's the most important thing. Whether it gets used very much, it doesn't really matter, but at least we know it is in serviceable condition. It's important to keep this slightly inverted like this, so you don't want to get kerosene inside the starter motor. We're just washing all this rubbish out. We don't want to take too much part on this. So some of this we can do with brake cleaner in a moment as well. There we go. There you go. Starter motor top cover, chrome. It's not very good, pitted, but here's quite bad. You can't do it with Solvo. Don't want to use a wire brush on that. So I think we've got to gently rub this with this pad, like we was doing the cases the other day. So we'll do this with WD-40. And we just work on the area where it's bad. Once the chrome is lifted, it won't come back, but at least we can get the rust out of it. Then we can just keep that clean with a bit of WD-40 or something, you know, it'll be fine. It looks better. So this is a breather cover. We're just going to remove the gasket carefully, just get a staining knife underneath it and just ease it up. Run it round. Then we'll just clean the underside of the cover and we'll reuse this gasket again. But don't pull it with your fingers because that's when you can break it. It's better to get a blade underneath it. Just tease it round. Okay, what happens when you over tighten screws. It's got a little crack in it here, but because it's on the breather, it's probably best left alone. It's not going to be a problem. So we just won't over tighten this too much here, this screw. But yeah, that's what happens. It puts too much pressure on the inside. Because there's a little crack in the end of this cover, we are going to use well seal here because we don't want that leaking. Okay, front mudguard. What we're going to do, because it's quite rusty, we'll take the surface off the wire brush first on the inside here. We're going to take the rear stay off, the bottom stay. I'm going to put in the blast cabinet. It's bead blast. We're going to do it with glass bead, which is not severe, and that will just clean that right up. Because it's going to go into the cabinet, I want to get all this loose rust off because I don't want to ruin all my glass bead. So we get all this off as much as we can, all the loose. You can see my hand moving here, but you won't see very much in a moment, but we just see how it hits that and how we get on. Just get in the right position. It's a big difference. If you're blasting chrome work, be careful, mask up the side you don't want to do. If I'd been working on that side, I'd have used masking tape and cover the area, because of what it will do, it will take it, it'll blast it, and you'll get this dull finish, because you're literally hammering it with glass bead. It will become very flat and you won't get it back. On the underside of the mudguard, it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's helped, because it gets into little crevices where you can't get. With less to stay on, there's no point in taking that off. Yeah, the rear mudguard, the back section, it's got a grab rail on, it's got the indicators. Now I've got these to replace, I'll get some pattern ones for it. So we're just going to do a quick clean. There is no point dismantling this at the moment. I do need the grommets for the rear grab rail. I'll get those, but just to clean it up for the time being, then we would have done all the tinware today. That's important. So I'm going to do this with duck oil again. You can do a lot of it in situ. This bike is not a full restoration, it's a recommission really. Chain cover, it was cracked here, so I brazed it through here. Paint's not very good here, so I'm not going to do it today. I just flatten that back off and we'll blow that back in because it has lifted underneath the paintwork. There is rust there, so we just tidy that up. I'm just going to give it a wipe over for now. But we come to the header pipes. They need a bit of wash out in the kerosene. We can do that, it's easier that way. And then we just use metal polish again on these, make sure the collars are okay. Any bolts that we might replace, but not today obviously, but we just get those all cleaned up. So hopefully today we would have gone through most of the tinware and got it cleaned up. Just got a tank to do in a minute. We'll take the filter out the tank and we'll flush it out with a bit of old petrol. When you remove this oil tank filter, it gives you an indication what the engine's like really, because if there is any metal, it'll probably be on this side of the mesh. But this just looks like old oil. It's slightly sludgy. It's not a bad idea. Get a magnet, pass it over all this crud, and just see if there's anything metal in there. If there is, it'll soon stick to it. And that is, it's just sludge. I don't think we've got anything really in there. Okay, today we managed to get the starter motor overhauled, and that's back now in place. Covers on, we cleaned the frame down, we've salvoed the headlights, the shrouds, we've cleaned the mudguards, they've been cleaned up properly. We've done this in the blast cabinet underneath here. We'll do this with probably wax or with a grease or something later on. But all the tinware and the header pipes, they're all clean now. So really, we've got on quite well today, quite pleased with where we got to with it really. The oil tank needs a little bit of work. Taking the rubbers out, found that top mount at the back here is broken pretty well. So I need to bear that back and weld that back in place. So then I'll clean it out inside once I've done that. So that can be done. And also, on the hangers for the exhaust, it's had an additional drilling here put in, and we need to build this back up and make this good. So when we come to put on the pea shooters, it all looks nice. So yeah, 2 things there need to be done, but otherwise, yeah, we seem to be on target with it really.